You were not able to open most jars. You were too light to arm the airbag. You couldn't explain the cycles of the moon without pen and paper. Or with.
You weren't able to cope with a stack of more than 3 books on my bedside table. Or mixed currencies in the change dish. Or plastic.
I wouldn't congratulate a woman until she explicitly said she was pregnant.
I couldn't tolerate gratuitously boisterous laughter.
You couldn't tolerate people who couldn't tolerate babies on planes.
I couldn't tolerate magicians who did things that someone with actual magical powers would never do.
I was just trying to remove a stain. I made a bigger stain.
You were so kind to my sister when I didn't know how to be kind.
You weren't sure how you should wear your hair. And so 10 minutes late and halfway down the stairs, you would examine your reflection in a framed picture of dead family.
I wasn't afraid of quiet. I just hated it. So my hand was always in my pocket, around a phone I never answered.
You weren't angry, just protecting your dignity.
The smaller the matter, the more I allowed your approval to mean to me.
I was almost always at home, but I wasn't always at home.
I wasn't afraid of being alone. I just hated it.
We went to Toby Pond every year until we didn't.
We tried having dinner parties. We tried owning nothing. I was struggling to be natural with my hands.
I was just joking most of the time.
I wasn't going to dance at our wedding, and you were not going to speak.
I was always in need of just one good dress shirt, or just one something I never had.
I should have forgiven you for all that wasn't your fault.
I was mostly joking.
We were always never mentioning it because we didn't know what it was.
I was always never complaining because confrontation was death to me, and because everything was pretty much always pretty much okay with me.
I was never one to mention physical pain.
When you screamed at no one, I sang to you. When you finally fell asleep, the nurse took him to bathe him, and still sleeping, you reached out your arms.
I wasn't overwhelmed, but overtired.
You loved the tiny socks. I Googled questions I couldn't ask our doctor or you.
You secretly wondered if he was deaf. He suddenly drew, suddenly spoke, suddenly wrote, and suddenly reasoned. One night I couldn't help him with his math.
You got married.
You hated our bed.
And then your father was dead.
You were always watching movie trailers on your computer.
You were always wiping surfaces.
I did nothing but look for you for 27 years.
You were too injured by things that happened in the distant past for anything to be effortless in the present.
We couldn't wait for the beginnings and ends of vacations. I was always hearing my father's laugh, but never remembering his face.
And here we aren't. So quickly.
I'm not being hoisted onto the shoulders of anybody wading out into any sea.
I'm not learning chess. And you're not losing your virginity to me.
And here we aren't.
Why didn't you lose your virginity to me?
Why didn't we enter that intersection 1,000th of a second sooner and die? Instead of die laughing. Everything else happened. Why not the things that could have?
After everything. It's nothing.
You look like yourself right now.
I was probably meant to be effortless.
I'm not disappointed. Just quiet.
I have always never been here.
What a shame. It wasn't easy.
What a waste. What a joke.
Come. No explaining or mending. Be beside me somewhere.
Blackout.